you're mentioning Turkey. You're in Turkey, and I don't know if you went on a sightseeing trip or what you were doing, but you ended up in the middle of an uprising.
Yeah, so we were working on a documentary, and the purpose of the documentary is to show people what's taking place in the earth since the Arab Spring. Now, here's the thing. In the past, many prophecy teachers, they've looked at the prophecy of Ezekiel 38 and 39. It's called the Battle of Gog of Magog. And everyone says this thing is pointing to Russia. Now, the problem with that is that when you look at the names that are in Ezekiel's oracle, there's two ways to interpret those names. The first is what scholars call the historical grammatical method. And all that is you look at these names, these tribes, these peoples, as they would have been understood by Ezekiel and his immediate hearers. And so in Ezekiel's day, Magog, Meshech, Tubal, Togarmah, Gomer, they were all in what's called Asia Minor, which is modern-day Turkey. Now, the other method of interpretation is you trace these people down through history. Well, they intermarried with these ones, they migrated up here, and so the guys that say Ezekiel was talking about Russia, they do the bloodline lineage thing. But the problem is they do it selectively with some of the names, but not others. So I'm not saying anyone's deceptive, but it's almost like a card trick. You can kind of create the end result that you want. And what I'm saying is that if we simply look at Ezekiel's prophecy, and we do it consistently in the historical grammatical perspective, which is what most responsible interpreters would say is the way to go, it points to Turkey as the leader of a coming invasion of Israel.
Wow.
Now, as a child, how many know Gog and Magog was always interpreted as Russia? Is that right? Raise your hand if that's true. Wake everybody up and let them raise their hand. Forgive me. So everybody in the audience basically says Gog and Magog is Russia. That's what we were taught.
Right. So now, and they base that off of the word Magog, because they say Josephus said the Magog became the Scythians, which eventually migrated around the Black Sea into Russia. And I go, okay, if you want to do that, you have to do it consistent. Who did Gomer become? Well, you know, all the other names, who did they become? Gomer became the Gemari, became the Cimmerians, became the Celts. Well, how many times did you buy a book back in the 80s that was the coming Irish invasion of Israel? It didn't exist.
No.
Russia was the Great Bear. I mean, even your friend Ronald Reagan, he was taught at that time. And this prophecy actually influenced American foreign policy to a degree. I mean, that is the power of this. And so I think if we look at it in a responsible way, I think it's pointing to Turkey. And so that was one of the reasons we went to Turkey. What's going on in Turkey? They have the largest army in the Middle East right now. And I think that this nation, as it's emerging, 10 years ago, everyone said Turkey's the great.
Did you say the Turkey army is the largest?
The largest army in the Middle East.
It's shocking. I did not know that.
Now,
not the overall military, but their army.
How many years ago? 2000 is 15 years ago. God woke me up in the night and gave me 31 things. So I wrote them all down. Crazy things. I mean, in the dark. I'm a terrible speller, so I'm spelling and writing in the dark with no light. I wake up and I could read it. I always said that's the biggest miracle about those things. And one of them was 9/11. And this was actually 1999 when he gave it. And 9/11, New York, D.C., what was the airplanes?
Yes.
I mean, the whole thing.
Terror, great airplane.
Terrorism. You know.
You even wrote on that prophecy on the side, you wrote planes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I gave it on New Year's Eve of 2000 at Rick Joyner's prophetic conference. And so it's there in writing. And so there's 31 things, and the biggest share of them, I'd say 9/10 of them now, have already taken place. An atomic bomb in the Mideast has not taken place. That's in that list. But the other thing that has been a mystery to me, God said, watch Turkey.
Boom. Boom. I've been saying this for 10 years. Watch the nation of Turkey